Good afternoon, Team Kingsville. Welcome to the next session of our Kingsville Live, this time recorded event. I'm going to be joined this afternoon by Senior Chief Cluess, our Emergency Operations Center Manager, and also Ramon, who works over at Fleet and Family Service. When he's not working on work and family life programs, he is our EFAC, Emergency Family Assistance Center Assistant Director. And he's going to speak in a few moments, along with Senior Chief Cluess, about our upcoming hurricane preparedness season. Before we get started, our hearts and prayers go out to Naval Air Station Corpus Christi as they deal with the latest incident that I'm sure many of you are aware of. We too remain in a heightened state of awareness for the time being, and again, our thoughts, prayers, and wishes go out to them. Before we get started today and talk about hurricane preparedness, as always, I want to recognize some of the folks out there with awards that we have. I had the opportunity both yesterday afternoon and this morning to go out and with COVID prevention measures and wearing masks, able to award and recognize our folks specifically this quarter. The first individual I want to recognize who has a distinguished career of 30 years is Master Chief Culinary Specialist Gomiak. He has been serving as my Joint Base San Antonio liaison officer up there from March 2017 through August 2020. Like I said, he's culminating an extensive and illustrious career of 30 years where he provided oversight of a $21 million dormitory enhancement, assignment, and remedy of over 1,170 defects for our two Navy medical support barracks up there where we provide assistance and support to the Joint Base. We've got a small contingent of naval folks up there, and when we can, we provide assistance to that Joint Base, even though they don't fall under the region like other installations here within Region Southeast. So congratulations to Master Chief Gomiak as he commemorates and celebrates those 30 years and turns a chapter in his life. The next award, a Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal, being awarded to Senior Chief Aviation Ordnanceman Blackman, who served as our Weapons Department Leading Chief Petty Officer from October 2018 to June 2020. His department received a perfect score during the CNIC and Regional Command Assessment for Readiness and Training events, and also he had an illustrious program satisfaction during the Explosive Safety Technical Assist visit and the following Explosive Safety Inspection. So congratulations to Senior Blackman, who I have the privilege and honor of commissioning and promoting to Chief Warrant Officer at the end of this month. The next award, Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, is awarded to Master at Arms 3rd Class Justin Calfo. He's a new report from Bangor, where he served as Squad Leader and Administrative Safety Officer in Company B, Marine Corps Security Force Battalion Bangor, from December 2016 through December of 2019. As the duty armorer, he flawlessly accounted for 190 small arms, 22,000 rounds of ammunition, and 4 tactical vehicles valued at over $1 million. So congrats to MA3, our new report. I also have the pleasure of recognizing our non-appropriated funds Senior Employee of the Quarter for second quarter fiscal year 2020, Ms. Nikita Teo, who works at the Child Development Center. Ms. Zeta Johnson from Morale, Welfare, and Rec was our non-appropriated fund Employee of the Quarter for second quarter fiscal year 2020. Mr. Zachary Cecil, who works over in Air Ops, and I just recently awarded, he is our Kingsville Senior Civilian of the Quarter for second quarter fiscal 2020. And Mrs. Joy Ansley, who's our Kingsville Civilian of the Quarter for second quarter fiscal year 2020 from the Security Department. Congratulations to all those civilians on a great job, well done. We also want to recognize our firefighter Michael Ware over in the fire department for over 20 years of service in the United States. Miss Pauline Soto, who's our MWR HR rep, recognition of 15 years of service. Miss Belinda Muniz, who works in MWR, commemorating 10 years of service. and Mr. David Rodriguez for 10 years of service in security. Congrats to all those folks on a job well done. Well, Senior Chief, we got a few things to talk about, don't we, today?
Yes, we do, sir.
Okay, I know we just got out of a, not the most extensive due to COVID, but we just finished up a hurricane exercise with the region just last week, agree?
Yes, sir.
And so, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of weeks, we're officially going to enter the hurricane season for South Texas.
That's correct.
Why don't you talk to me a little bit about what our folks out there, especially our families, should be thinking about and preparing for before the 1st of June hits us in just less than a week and a half.
Yes, sir. So, right now we are in Core Condition 5, which was set last week.
Okay?
And what that means to you and all our sailors out there is preparation, preparation, and more preparation.
Okay.
All right. At this time, next slide, please. During this opportunity right here, before we actually get into hurricane season,
Uh-huh.
all right, you want to start reviewing your insurance policies.
Okay.
All right.
So we're talking about Core 5 right now, right? So
Yes, sir.
there's 5 cores,
Yes,
and
sir.
that's what we're going to be talking about. And I think we've got a slide for each condition of readiness, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So next slide if we can get. All right, here we have Core Condition 5, which is our lowest, where we're at right now. Okay.
And we're going to be in that until 1 November? Or
Yes,
through
sir.
the end of November?
1 November.
1 November. So we're going to be in this for an extended period of time, and we'll always be at 5 at a minimum.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay?
All right. And while we're in 5 here, now's the opportunity to go ahead and review your insurance policy. If you live in an apartment out in town, make sure your renter's insurance is updated. All right. Absolutely take advantage of this time to update your NFAS as well.
Sure. And I think we just did that recently, right?
Yes, sir. I'm sure we probably still have some names out there on the list.
Hopefully not.
And also make sure you get those travel cards updated.
That's something I noticed. We still have quite a significant number of people that need to make sure. And do you remember why that's important?
Just in case we have to evacuate, sir.
Yeah. How are we going to get paid, right, when we come back?
Yes, sir.
It will only further complicate getting reimbursed at the end of the day if you don't have a travel card in hand, right?
That's correct, sir.
And so that's why it's important. Even if you have family as well, right? You got to have a card.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, next slide. All right, here we have Core Condition 4. This is the first condition of hurricane readiness. All right, destructive force winds 50 miles or greater, forecasted within 72 hours.
So about 3 days before we expect landfall or impact to NAS Kingsville. Okay?
So one of the key things here for Core Condition 4, you guys want to go ahead and stock up on those non-perishable items. All right, lessons learned here from COVID-19, we know there's going to be a run on water and toilet paper.
Not unlike what we experienced during COVID.
Yes. Also, having cash on hand. All right? Cash on hand, and we want to go ahead and, like we said, C, we're going to go ahead and secure for C as well.
So cash on hand, Senior, is that just in case there's power outages and you can't get to an ATM?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And then hopefully some of these gas stations and whatnot will have the ability to be able to do cash only type of transactions at that point.
Yes, sir.
If they have like emergency generators with power outages where the pumps still work, right?
Correct.
How about filling up your car? Is that on there or is that in a few slides?
That's on this slide, sir.
Okay,
That's
great,
on this slide.
super.
All right. Next slide. Our next condition is Core Condition number 3. Destructive wind forces greater than 50 miles per hour, forecasted within 48 hours. That's going to be 2 days.
Okay,
All right. During this time, you want to make sure we have our prescriptions filled. All right. And also, additionally on this slide, have extra fuel as well. Not only have your car filled up, but extra fuel just in case, because as we've seen with Hurricane Harvey, those gas stations lines can get really, really long. So
as well as the routes transiting outside and most likely north, right?
Yes,
Since
sir.
we're so far south down in Texas. Do you think we'll get the go-ahead to evacuate? Let's say the mayor and the judge decide to evacuate the city of Kingsville. Do we hope that'll happen 2 days prior, or that may not happen? I can't remember. That's why I have to ask. Hopefully we'll have that amount of time, right? Because it's going to take some time to transit up. Ramon, do you remember how long a heads up we had last time with Harvey?
We had we were in core 4, so about maybe 72 hours or so, and then we started to evacuate.
I can't remember if it was a mandated or just recommended. Can anyone remember that back in Harvey?
It was recommended by the
Weather people.
county board chief, county
To
board
evacuate.
judges.
Yep,
They did not order an evacuation.
that's right. I
There's
don't
all
remember
kinds of
full on.
complications that happened with that.
And we got lucky, right? In Harvey, it did hit Corpus. They're still suffering from that extensive damage they have within the facilities on the base. If that storm would have moved 60 miles to the west, that would have severely impacted us. So, okay, core 3, 2 days prior.
Next slide. All right, destructive, core condition 2, destructive force winds 50 miles or greater, forecasted within 24 hours. All right. If you haven't left yet, get out of there, evacuate, head to a shelter. All right, the most important thing here, if you can evacuate, you're gonna go ahead and hunker down.
Okay?
All right.
Why are we filling up the bathtub? You remember that?
Just in case we have to boil water. So.
Yep, just it's another source of water, right? Just in case, again, the pumps don't start working, and that's something that I've done. Unfortunately, having been through Katrina in Florida and other places, they've always recommended that, to fill up that bathtub so you have a additional source of water.
Yes, sir.
Ramon,
Or a trash can, clean trash can, fill it up with water, so that's your backup in case you
Okay.
don't have a tub in your house, bathtub.
so like you said, if it's forecast to be here in a day, if you haven't gotten on the road, it's probably too late, right? And there's probably backups and whatnot. So and that's what we potentially could struggle with during the season, right? There's that ability of what's it going to do, what's it going to shift, and we know it's unpredictable. There's all kinds of models we're going to see from the Weather Center. The best thing to always do, if you're not deemed mission critical, you're not on part of that team that's going to have to stay here and possibly go to the FEMA Dome down at the Pan American School, is proactively just leave. And you're right, you may take a chance, the Navy not come back and compensate you, but you know what? We're talking about lives, right?
Yes, sir.
There is not a cost associated with it, right?
Mm.
So the best thing, should you be able to get on the road as soon as possible, along with everybody else, and get out of here. Okay, core 2, now to core 1.
Next slide. All right. Now here we are at core 1, destructive force winds greater than 50 miles per hour are forecasted within 12 hours.
Okay?
All right, and if you're not able to evacuate, this is where you want to stay indoors, avoid windows, and conserve water.
Hopefully you've got a radio that's got batteries, right? That may be your only source of information. And this touches on all those things we just talked about with that mission essential personnel. And the preponderance of those people, for those that don't know, are our first responders. Our fire, our security, our working dogs and whatnot. And in case anyone hasn't been notified as of recent, after Hurricane Harvey, when all the engineers went back and studied all these buildings, most of them fairly old Kingsville, there is really no building here that can safely sustain or safely get through a sustained wind of more than a Category 1 hurricane at this point, which means if no one can convince me that it can only stay at Cat 1, there's no chance of it going to a Cat 2, we're all going to evacuate during Core 1. We're going to go down to the FEMA Dome just down the road, and we're going to hunker down with about 70 of our closest friends, most likely from fire, from security, and our folks from Public Works, because when we can safely get back aboard the station, we're going to need to assess damage and then determine what we need so we can reopen the base as soon as possible.
Next slide. Here's disaster preparedness basics. If you're not already registered for ad hoc, make sure you get that up to Senior Chief Petita to make sure that you're able to receive ad hocs, because more than likely that's how you're going to receive the information through your cell phone via email.
That's right, and I talk about this extensively at our indocs and whatnot because it's your best thing. And make sure that your spouses, right, and families on that as well. in case we have to secure a gate and open up another gate based on that. But it's the best way, and it's the quickest way, provided it works. It's not always seamless, depending upon your telephone carrier, but it's the quickest, easiest way. It may be the primary way where we talk about the base remains closed. We're gonna have a hotline open like we did before, 1-800 number you can call in and find out what's the status of the base. But this really, truly, and it's a requirement, right? You got it right up there. It's a Department of Defense requirement for all individuals, regardless of your affiliation, that works on board Kingsville. You need to make sure you're registered. Okay.
Excellent. All right, here's some of the hazards to plan for: high winds, flooding.
A lot of those we've already talked about, agree?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Flood insurance too, right?
Yes.
Can't remember if folks have to have this, so something else to think about. Not if you're a renter, obviously, but if you're the owner of a home here, there's the potential you could be in a flood zone. So don't forget about that before they declare the hurricane, because once they've declared one or it's imminent, you're not able to retroactively start or begin a new flood policy.
Another
Okay.
good thing too also is inventory your items too before a storm comes. Make sure
That's a great
you
idea
have
too.
pictures of all your things like that.
Yeah, heaven forbid something bad happens, right?
Correct.
And you lose something. Okay, great.
Excellent. All right. And the recovery process here. Do not return home or go outside until declared safe. All right. Report status of needs via NFAS as soon as possible.
Okay.
All right.
And that'll be the big thing, right? When we, if we have to hunker down the FEMA dome, of course, our administrative rep is gonna start a recall and roster of everyone to make sure we've got everyone safe. NFAS is one of those tools, provided you can get to it. You don't have to be in an NMCI machine, right, to be able to use that as well. And like we talked about, when it's safe, and Senior Chief Pardita coordinates all of our mission ascension personnel cards, right? So in case they have, like Route 77 here blocked and cordoned off, we may be able to get on the base sooner than others because we have that designation. Okay, what else?
Excellent. All right. And just some basic information here, general information to help you with just being more prepared.
Okay. And yeah, some of those ones, especially if you're monitoring the weather and the different tracks, probably your NOAA website there is going to be pretty good as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excellent. That's it.
All right, Ramon, come on down. He's the next guest. Again, if you forgot, he works over in Fleet and Family, and he's been here for a long time. How long, Ramon?
15 years.
I was guessing when's it going to be 16? I was close.
This year.
This year. All right.
July. No, that's all the same.
Okay. We'll have a seat and welcome. You have actually headed up on a real event in the past, right?
Yes, sir.
When we had one, so you've got a lot more experience than I do with this.
Key West.
Yeah. You would be the person, most likely, being the assistant EFAC director, to go to wherever, usually region designates,
Right.
where we may have to evacuate. Sometimes it's in concert with and the same location as where some of our jets may hurvac off to, but that may not be the case.
Right.
The goal, I presume, is to go to where we can get Department of Defense support, like JRB Fort Worth,
Right.
which is, I think, our primary designation, provided the storm isn't forecast to go up there and hit there as well.
Right.
Okay.
Either San Antonio or
Got it.
all the way to Fort Worth.
Your role as that assistant director, can you kind of talk about things
So
that you're going to be probably asked to help provide?
right. So as what an EFAC is an Emergency Family Assistance Center, is when you tell FFSC to man the EFAC,
Mm-hmm.
we would open it up, and we, as a Fleet and Family Support Center, would host
Okay.
EFAC, and it's like a one-stop shop for everybody where we can provide resources and have it tailored to what event that's going on, like a hurricane,
So I could get like counseling.
counseling.
Would the chaplain maybe be with you as well?
Yes, there's a whole bunch of professionals
Okay.
that's going to be at the Fleet and Family Support Center, like the chaplain,
Sure.
legal, housing, MWR, FEMA, maybe Marine Corps Relief Society, Red Cross,
All ready to help.
all ready to help.
Yep, that's great.
And it'd be like long hours, but they're ready to help.
So it's not just you. You're obviously gonna probably be with somebody else, but like you said, it'll be most likely port and starboard, right? It'll be a long time for those folks out there that understand that. It'll be every other shift or 24-hour support, 12 on, 12 off, helping all our folks and potentially coordinating where folks could go if they're still struggling to find hotels or lodging available. Is that one thing you could help with?
Right, so FEMA would be on booth, helping all the family members, service member, retirees, whoever, can get on base with an ID card,
Okay.
and they'll be able to support them and basically give them a voucher that day, and they can say, okay, you can go to one of the hotels out here and you won't have to pay for anything for a week.
Because you've already established a relationship with those venues and lodging.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes,
that's
sir.
awesome. Well, good. What do families need to know from your perspective about the upcoming hurricane season next month?
So the family members needs to make a plan, make
Okay.
an evacuation plan, make communication. So when they do have communication, they need to let other family members know where they're going to go for their safe haven.
Okay.
So that way, other families from different locations is not going to be worried what's happening with them.
So maybe their parents or in-laws would be a good.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Create a important phone list, because nowadays we all use cell phones.
That's right.
If we don't have cell phones,
Or smartphones, right? They got everything. They got camera, internet.
right? So you have it all put in your phone, and you just hit that button, and it'll go dial to whoever you want it to go.
So save it as a contact.
Right. So just maybe a small business card, put all your important information in there, phone numbers,
Sure.
close
Great idea.
relatives, and then you're good to go.
There you
Establish a case emergency contact.
Okay.
Practice your regular plan, where you're going to go, how you evacuate, routes, and things like that. Build an emergency kit. And if you have an emergency kit that's been there for a period of time, maybe a year, you might want to evaluate that. So that way, the stuff is not maybe expired or you're missing something.
Sure.
So
Curiosity.
right. So it's always good to make sure that you have all that stuff.
What is the shelf life of spam? Any idea?
Shelf life of spam. I do eat spam.
Is it indefinite?
It could 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3
3 years. As long as it's not bulging, any holes in it.
Our MREs that we have
MREs.
on board specifically for our folks that are gonna be potentially down the FEMA dome have an expiration date as well and water, but that's a good point, so you gotta check it.
Right.
Same with first aid kits, right? Some of that stuff only has a certain
Expires.
shelf life.
Right.
Yep, crack it
Uh,
open now, take a look, and then I think like My Navy Family, there's a couple sites out there that could help you come up with, I don't have one, how do I build one?
Right.
Right?
You can go to the website Ready Navy. They'll help you.
Great.
Build that. Consider emergency savings. Senior already spoke about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have at least $100 per person in low denomination, meaning
In cash.
In cash. So
Okay.
that way, when you do have to stop for gas, food, or
Sure.
anything, you can put out. You can say, here, here's $20, $30. But if you put $100,
Right.
then there won't be. Well, we can't change it. And some people don't accept more than $100 because it's too much. So
Sure.
they need to have the low denomination. So cash and fast. We already talked about and
Right.
fast. Make sure that's really important. It's just not for hurricane season or anything like that. It's for anything. So that way we know where family members are going.
Do you think they could accept Bitcoin?
I don't know.
Probably not.
And of course, our command ombudsman is Maria Blanco. She's our
Mhm.
command ombudsman. Make sure you reach out to her. She's going to be working with us at the Fleet and Family Support Center as an EFAC volunteer.
Good chance she could evacuate with you all.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
great. That's great to know.
And know your resources, where to get help. We'll have that at the EFAC, at the Fleet and Family Support Center. We'll have a whole list from A to Z.
Okay.
You just need to go look in there, and everything's going to be there. And then continue reviewing your plan for
Sure.
evacuation.
That's good info. We talked earlier. You have personal experience
Yes, sir. Yes,
in
sir.
an effect. So thinking back to that, what do you think, not to really put you on the spot, but your biggest challenge that you had there that you can remember?
So our biggest challenge first is just to get there.
Yeah.
Just to get there. We flew in to Miami and we had to drive all the way down to Key West. So that was a big challenge. And we had a curfew. We had to be inside our place to stay at 9 o'clock. And
Because they were locking the doors after that.
Yes. Or you can get pulled over, get a ticket for whatever. So we had to be there by 9 o'clock. And getting the site ready for the next day, so that way we can start getting people to get in and start helping them out.
And open the doors.
Open the doors and resources and things like
In
that.
that case, you were not worried about your family because the hurricane wasn't here in South Texas. Like you said, it was down in Key West.
Right.
So what could be is you've got to get your family, just like the ombudsman, get prepared, get a plan in place, because they're going to be serving something else, and that's going to be very stressful, right?
It was stressful too, is now that you had mentioned it, because Harvey hit, and then a week or two later, we had to go to Key West. So I
That's
was
right.
still dealing with what was going on at my house.
Like a war on two fronts.
Right. So that was also a big challenge. I had to worry about what's going on here and
Yeah.
having my 100% to support Key
Sure.
West during that
It's
time.
going to be challenging, but I do appreciate everything you do. And again, Fleet and Family Center, great place to go. Counseling, there is some COVID type 19 restrictions currently in place, but we hope with the slowly and gradually reopening of installations that we expect during the next couple of months, that we continue to offer more of those services. So, perfect. Before we conclude, I just want to touch on a couple of the COVID things that I kind of just put a primer in. Is we know the state has begun to reopen. More things, especially based on capacity and populations at restaurants, are increasing, at least in the state of Texas, I think from 25% to 50%. Bars and other venues, beauty shops are reopening. But I have to continue to reiterate, we need to be extremely cautious. We've got a mission, essential function here to do in training our pilots, and I can only continue to commend all of our blended workforce here aboard the station who are doing a great job. And I know it's a great job because the cases are so low, to include none aboard the station. And so I caution you to, before you visit, to really proceed with caution and think about it. I know we're all frustrated. I know if I asked you, Ramon, and anyone else out there in TV land, it's frustrating about what's going on. And I know you don't have a 100-mile liberty restriction imposed on you, but the rest of us in uniform do. And so we're working through it. We're doing a phenomenal job. My hands applaud all those out there on the team that are making things work. The reopening aboard the installations is going to be slow. We are going to need higher headquarters approval, and it's going to be based on metrics of both Clayburgh and Nueces counties and what's going on with the testing and the follow-on potential positive cases. And so when we submit requests to potentially open up the Liberty Center and the Fitness Center, what we're going to do each time is look back 14 days. And if the trend in the cases is trending down and the availability of beds, if you remember Flatten the Curve, it was all about making sure that we had the capacity and capability out in those medical facilities. That will be part of what we submit to higher headquarters as well, to ensure that we have enough beds. And so it will be slow. It's obviously going to be slower than it is out in the state, but it's for a good reason. And the last thing I'd like to ask Ramon, what are you doing for the upcoming Memorial Day weekend, based on all these restrictions still in place? Any big plans?
I'm staying home.
Just stay at home.
Stay
I like
home.
that. I like that.
Stay
So
home, be safe.
again, thanks Ramon and everybody that's helped out there. Kingsville, we are doing a tremendous job. Keep doing the great things you're doing. Appreciate it, and please have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend.